The speaker very much. I rise this morning to engage in a limited but hopefully important discussion about America's history and to encourage my colleagues for collaboration. It is in reference to H.R. 40, the Commission to Study Slavery and Develop Reparation Proposals. I stand on the perspective of how important it is for us to engage in dialogue. We're hearing across America that Americans are frightened about the discussion of our differences. This land was first held by the indigenous people, Native Americans. Every other group came to America. Whether or not you're of European heritage, Hispanic heritage, Asian Pacific, Southeast Asian, or whether you are African heritage. As a descendant of enslaved Africans, we are the only group that came as slaves to this country and held in bondage for over 200 years. Now, you have not seen African Americans refuse their patriotism, refuse to serve. We have served in every war since the Revolutionary War. You've never seen African Americans not shed or refuse to shed blood for the freedom of this country or to wear the uniform. You've not seen us shy away from serving as firefighters and law enforcement, teachers, business persons, social justice leaders such as Dr. King, John Lewis, and yes, Malcolm X. You've not seen us as women, Rosa Parks, Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, Coretta Scott King, stand away from the fight. We have embraced freedom, justice, and equality. You did not see us attack this most solid and somber institution, sacred, on January 6, 2021. We were not the masses that were trying to undermine democracy. In fact, in this last election, I stood on the premise of defending democracy, and I take no back seat to my love of this nation. And so I ask my colleagues, why do you in any way doubt the value and importance of H.R. 40? The purpose is to acknowledge the fundamental injustice and inhumanity of slavery in the United States and to establish a commission to study and consider a national apology and proposal for reparations for the institution of slavery. It was based on the premise of racism. There was, in fact, no compensation, no life insurance, no salaries, and slaves were born, they lived and died in slavery, never seeing freedom. They worked from sunup and beyond, and they worked until they fell dead in the fields. They built this nation. They built the United States Capitol. They built the White House. They, in fact, created an economic engine by making cotton king, and they created an economic engine by this transatlantic slave trade. The traders decided to stop trading spices and gold and to use the human beings that they marched for 300 miles to weaken the slaves so they would not have a fight before getting on those ships. Many dropped into the watery grave before they got on. Many died in the dark passage. But yet, here we are today. And so this is not a pointing the finger. This is not accusatory. This is, in fact, a reconciliation. I insist that we establish this commission, and we must establish it by a vote or establish it by executive order. Reverend Mark Thompson said, a political activist for social justice, said, if we were granted H.R. 40 by executive order, it would be America once and for all saying black lives actually do matter and this nation must be repaired. It is restoration and repair, but it stands on the basis of facts. There is no doubt that we have been impacted, that DNA in the trajectory of slavery to today. For example, at COVID, black African Americans got COVID at a rate nearly 1.5 times higher than that of white people, or hospitalized at a rate nearly 4 times higher and 3 times likely to die. COVID hit us very desperately. Interestingly, a recent peer-reviewed study from Harvard Medical School suggests that reparations for African Americans could have cut COVID-19 transmission and infection rates both among blacks and the population at large. Reparations are curative. They're not punishment. The analysis continued to look at data throughout the nation. And so as we move in this lame duck session, it is important that we come together for reconciliation, restoration, and provide the commission to study slavery and to develop reparation proposals. I thank my colleagues for their support, and I believe together we make America strong, America free, and America just, and America equal. With that, I yield back my time.
Markel Brewster here again with Pearl Productions. I have Dr. Carr here. Dr. Carr, thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you, Brother Brewster. It's good to see you, brother.
Yes, sir.
Good to be in D.C. with a native Washingtonian.
That's right, born and raised right up the street from here. We're here at the Crampton Auditorium at Howard University for the town hall today. Dr. Carr, just shares your beliefs about reparations and if we should get it.
Well, you know we should get it.
That's right.
I mean, the only question is, would a country that is founded in such a lie, a criminal enterprise, would it give reparations? And of course, we know that it won't. We have to demand reparations. And we know the core of reparations is really, the core of reparations is self-repair. Okay. So the first debt we owe is to ourselves. As we repair, we understand that whether or not this country ever concedes reparations, we have made our declaration as human beings. Having done that, we've already achieved a major victory. Now, in terms of resources, I would just say very quickly that the reparations struggle has been long. It began with the initial capture of our people. And we have major figures, Callie House, Queen Mother Moore, so many, women and men, and Nkechi Taifa, Dr. Amari Obadeli, the Republic of New Africa, and ultimately we will achieve reparations in this country, because if we don't get reparations, there won't be a country. That's how simple that is.
That's right. So I'm kind of conflicted. Clarify for me. You said we're going to eventually get them, but you started off saying we couldn't get them.
Doctor.
So if we can't get it, how will we eventually get it?
Well, the point I'm trying to make is that a great deal of it depends on our strength. See, when I say we'll never get it in the sense, I guess at the core of the question of reparations, a lot of people think reparations is a check. I'm hearing a lot of people saying, cut the check, cut the check. Okay. That's a very limited view of reparations. The reparations is about resources. Okay. Reparations ultimately is about being made whole. This country can't make us whole. Only we can do that. This country can. I talked to you a minute. Okay, see me. This country will. This country has to change in order to even be able to give a reparations claim. And so when I say we won't get it, we won't get it from the country the way it's structured now. But we got to work on restructuring the country so that becomes a possibility.
Thank you. Y'all heard it here first. America needs therapy so we can fix ourselves and get this money. Thank you for your time, sir.
Or a straitjacket. We can just put America in a straitjacket.
This is loose. We're not stringent here. Markel Brewster here again with Pearl Productions. I have Dr. Malveaux here once again at the Crampton Auditorium for the town hall meeting. We just want to hear your thoughts on black people getting reparations.
We will not have economic justice until we have reparations. Black people built this country. There would be no White House, no Congress, no congressional buildings were it not for our labor. But there's a denial about the work that we've done, a denial about what we are owed, a denial about our presence. I am the Dean of the College of Ethnic Studies at Cal State LA. Our Pan-African Studies, Chicano Latino Studies, and Asian American Studies reporting to me. There has been a pushback against ethnic studies, a pushback against critical race theory, which is really about pushing back against the truth. And the truth is that black people are owed for our labor. We are owed trillions of dollars because of not only enslavement, but also the economic envy that caused so many lynchings. Our people were lynched because we had too much, even in society where we did not have our fair share. Tulsa burned because, according to a government commission, mentioned too many N-words and too much money. An N-word was not Negro. We saw people who were hung because they had too much land. We saw people who were, there's a sister who was killed, Mary Turner. She was lynched because she demanded justice for her husband, who was lynched because he refused to work for free for a white man. So yes, we need reparations. There's no question that we need reparations. It is reparations now.
So, last question. You said we should get it. How do you think we get the reparations?
Well, we have H.R. 40. H.R. 40 is legislation that would deal with the reparations. We also have the National African American Reparations Commission, on which I serve. There is a 10-point plan that talks about money, but it doesn't just about money. It talks about making us whole. So once upon a time, we had 123 black-owned banks. Now we have 23. What happened? How do we get restored? We had a vibrant communications network. Now that's gone. You know, they basically allowed our newspapers, our radio stations rather, to go out of business. You have Roland Martin here. Yeah. Roland has started basically a black media network, but you see that there are so many other things that have basically been taken from us. With economic tools, banks changing the rules about banking. Go down the list. So the 10-point program, the IBW21.org, push the button that says reparations, is a 10-point program that talks about restoring us. And the restoring is not just cash. Yeah, we want the cash, but the cash is just the first step towards restoring our people.
Dr. Malveaux, thank you so much for your time. You guys heard her. Go support HR 40 and do your research on that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
Productions. I have Mr. Kamm Howard here from Chicago. Thank you, sir, for your time. We just want to hear your thoughts on black people getting reparations and our fight for that and what you think about that.
So reparations for black people is due. It's a debt that this country owes, and it's a human right. And I say it's a human right because anytime a crime is committed against the people by the state, they're obligated to repair whatever causes and injuries that people have suffered. There's an international law that says that reparations must wipe out all consequences of the harms that were created. And that to wipe out all consequences of the crime, the country must engage in full reparations, and that's what we're fighting for today.
Thank you so much. So last question. I was at the rally for reparations Saturday. I asked a couple people this, and I want to ask you as well. When you say reparations are a debt that America owes, if this was court, who would you be suing, and what would your closing argument be?
Well, I would be suing the federal government, state governments, I would be suing local governments, I would be suing corporations, I would be suing institutions, I would be suing influential families and their trusts, all who have benefited from enslavement, from the crimes of enslavement, the crimes of Jim Crow apartheid, and from the current crimes of neo-apartheid, police terror, mass incarceration, predatory lending, things that have harmed us today. They will all be subject to the lawsuit. And my closing argument would be that we gave a tremendous amount of our effort and talent in this country, and we've yet to be treated as fair and righteous citizens in this country. That in and of itself deserves reparations, but aside from that, all of the crimes that this country has committed against black people over the centuries, under international law, demands redress, and so that's what we're fighting for, and we won't accept anything less.
Dr. Carr, thank you so much for your time. Markel Brewster, I'm sorry. My apologies.
That's okay. I would love to be confused with Dr. Carr.
This is my fourth interview.
That's all right.
Mr. Kamm Howard, thank you so much. Markel Brewster, Pearl Productions signing off. Y'all forgive me for that mishap, okay? Okay, my name is Markel Brewster. I'm here with Pearl Productions and Mr. Martin, who is graciously giving us his time. Real quick, we recently had the rally for reparations. Just give us your quick opinion of it.
Well, it's very simple. You can rally, but the question is, how do you then move to actually make it happen? That's vote counting. And so you have to move that. And so how are you mobilizing and organizing people to get that done? And so it's easy to say, cut the check. we need reparations. Okay, but how are you going to get it? There's a process there. And so one of the things that I've said to people is that some people I've seen them trash or dog Democrats. I'm like, well, show me one Republican who supports reparations. Who's in office? There are none. So the reality is the only pathway to even having a conversation about reparations, to having even HR 40, is through Democratic Party. So that's just basic understanding of politics.
Gotcha.
And so if you are trashing the very group that is the only one that will talk to you, explain to me how then you think that's going to happen. That's just real basic. So that's like saying somebody needs $1,000 and they trashing me, and I'm the only one who can give you 1,000. It's a good bet you ain't gonna get 1,000 from me if you cussing me out the whole time.
With that, I just want to apologize for that first. Make sure we on good terms.
No. It's just I'm just walking people through. It's understanding politics. The reality is, if I'm trying to get something, I gotta figure out how to convince these people to give me what I'm trying to get.
Gotcha.
And cussing them out ain't gonna do it.
Tenfold.
And the last point is this here. When the people who talk about don't vote, okay, again, this is just real basic. How can I demand something that can only come through political folk, but then I don't vote? I can't. I actually need them to vote, which now means, if you say that person disagrees, okay, who are you now running or supporting who can run against them? But to say don't vote until we get it, well, if you haven't gotten it, then you're not gonna get it if you don't vote.
Makes perfect sense. Last question I'll ask you. So I watched the interview with the panel that you did, and you all brought up a number of bills that helped black people but was inclusive of other people as well. What do you think about the notion of, or idea that black people want something specifically for us?
But people who say that cannot point to where that happens. Again, when you pass a bill, the reality is you're passing it as a congressional bill. So you're not going to get a black specific bill. You're not going to get a male specific bill. Now, if you pass a bill that deals with maternal health care, obviously women having babies. But the reality is you're not going to have that. Now, folks try to say, well, no, they can't show you that. It can't show you that. Now, then when you ask somebody, okay, give me an example of a black specific bill. Then they go, well, Asians got a hate crime bill. No, they didn't, because you didn't read it. Now, in the intro, they explain the various hate crimes. Go pull the bill that dealt with the church burnings. It details in the intro the black churches that were being burned. Is that bill solely for black churches? No, it's for religious institutions, churches, synagogues, mosques. So even in that case, the burning of black churches was the impetus for the bill, but the bill didn't only cover black churches. See, again, these are folks who don't understand politics, so it sounds great. We want black specific. Okay, you can't point to black specific, and they might say, well, this bill helped the Alaskans. That's a state. That's a state. Okay, so again, that's how people don't quite understand, again, how politics works, but it sounds great, and folks latch onto it, but it ain't reality.
Markel Brewster, Pearl Productions. Thank you, Mr. Martin.
Appreciate it.
You have a good one.